Hi you guys, this is Mr. Steven. Welcome. Here is our project resume or CV. Let's get started. We're going to do this project over the next week. Those of you that have your inventions prepared, just hang on to those. We'll decide what to do as time goes by. At some point I want to see what you've created. I want to see your presentations. I'm very excited about that. But while we have these couple weeks at home, let's go ahead and start our second project resume, CV. Here is your mission, should you choose to accept it. Of course you will. Create an online resume CV using LinkedIn.com. That's LinkedIn.com. This is a professional website that people use internationally in order to share their credentials, their education, what experience they have, what types of volunteer groups they've worked with, and who do they know, who are they known by. So this is really important for you to start getting a grasp on your resume and CV, and I'm so happy to start this with you. So we have a few points here. First, we're going to create a LinkedIn.com login. Then you need to upload your photo. It's just like a profile, like you would on social media such as Facebook. Then you need to go through each field, each section of LinkedIn.com of your profile, and you'll need to enter in some information. And then I'm looking for correct spelling, correct punctuation, and grammar. You need to be very careful about your capital letters, about commas, periods, proper nouns, and your fluency. Please give the time that this needs, otherwise you'll lose points on this project. Okay, and last, at the very end, once you've created your profile, you'll send me an invite to connect on LinkedIn.com on the website itself, or you can just email me your profile link, the URL, so I can see it in real time. All right, let's get started. Okay, so first we're going to look at what is a resume and CV. What are the differences between these two names? A little bit of the history, etc. So the very first thing is a resume or a CV. It's a type of document that you use to apply for jobs, for your career, to volunteer. It's a document that lets people know what has been your experience, what is your education, how are you known, how do you know other organizations, for example. The resume is what we call this document primarily in American English. So I grew up saying resume, everyone says resume in the United States. It's one page, front and back, summary. It's only a summary of the applicable, the important information that people might want to know about you in order to hire you for a job. However, in the international realm, when you're applying for a job, you should use a CV. People will use the vernacular CV. That is largely in Britain as well. So that's one or more pages with more details. The history of a CV has lots of information, maybe lists and lists of jobs you've had, the skills for each job, every single success you've ever acquired through your education, maybe any training that I've done. It's long lists of detailed information. And CV actually stands for Curricula Vitae, which is Latin for course of life. So we can imagine it's a lot of information. Nowadays, the modern use, we use resume and we use CV interchangeably. We use them both back to back. So resume, CV, basically the same thing. It's kind of evolved into a summary of who you are for the purpose of applying for a job. So this is exciting. I want you guys, step one, go visit online, linkedin.com. Again, that's LinkedIn.com. Why is it called that? If you think about that, LinkedIn, like a chain linked together, different links of a chain, they link together. So the idea for marketing, they probably called it LinkedIn because it's like people linking in with one another, linking to one another. But when you log in, all of these technological terms, we say in. So I don't know exactly why the name is LinkedIn, but it's very logical. Okay, this must be some sort of site where we're connecting with one another. Again, that's an example of inference. We can infer that judging by the name, the root of the name, LinkedIn. The implication is apparent. It's not something that is explicit, it's something that is implicit. Implicit meaning you have to kind of come to the conclusion on your own. You use your life experience, your reading experience. You should be reading your library books day by day. I hope that you are. But this kind of experience with the English language, you can imply, okay, LinkedIn must mean connected, some sort of website about connecting. Now, if it was explicit, it would say, LinkedIn means you are connecting with other people on this website. When we say something directly, we call that explicit. So those are those IGCSE definitions you need to know for your exams. Okay, so yes, visit linkedin.com and you'll want to just click on the setup button and then you're going to create your own profile. So step number 2, you'll want to go through each section of the registration. It is okay for your age. It's meant for high school students who are eventually interested in getting a job and employment. Remember, this is the key. This represents who you are to the professional world, so you should too be professional. Please be very careful with spelling. Again, your punctuation. This needs to be perfect, and I'm going to help you get you there. Okay? Thank you. Once you have your own login, your own account on LinkedIn, I want you to visit my LinkedIn so you can see an example. Here is the link on step number 3, https://www.linkedin.com/in/Stephen Vale/. So check that out, and I want you to go through each section, read through. I want you to get a feel for the design. You'll see that what types of pieces of information are present there. So observe that. Step number 4, think about questions you may have. Again, I'm available via email or B12 for you to ask me different questions. And then step number 5, I want you to take your notebook and I want you to brainstorm what you would write for your own online resume CV. So you need to start planning. Okay, what goes under the profile section? How do I want to write my name? Do I want to include my middle name or just my first and family name? What do I want to include for education, seeing as how I've been with AAJ my whole life? Or maybe I was with Mohta Madrase or Kortebe. Okay, if that's the case, then you'd want to write that in your past experience. You'll see what I mean when you go through each section, and then we're going to work on this together. So take out your notebooks now, and let's start brainstorming. Let's go. All right, let's bring it back. Here you can see a worksheet that I've created. It's now uploaded on B12 for you to access. Your job is to go through this worksheet, fill it out in a professional way. I will collect this when we return back to school, Lord willing. soon. Please note at the bottom, grade 11 students, if you've already completed this worksheet, you may skip to this step. So again, visit the B12 site, and I want you to download this worksheet. If for some reason you have trouble with that, you can just do it in your notebook, go through each section. I'm going to talk about each section a bit. Already, you can see on the cover page here, you need to enter in your city, Zarqa, country, Jordan, your personal phone number, your email address, your birth dates, and marital status. Everyone say marital status. What they're asking when you see this on any kind of application or on a resume like this, they're asking, are you married or are you single? So for you guys, you'll enter in single. And then you'll see there's a space next to that section. That's where you can enter in a profile picture, your picture, somewhere to the left. Next, we want to take a look at the profile. So your profile is just 1 to 3 sentences about who you are. 1 to 3 sentences. You should use lots of descriptions, explaining who you are as a worker, who you are, like I work with integrity, for example. For example, I am great at problem solving. You want to be able to share your vision in this section. So I have a vision to join a professional company and to grow, to learn, to further my skill sets. So this is a place where you write 1 to 3 sentences to explain who you are. I work well with others. I work well independently. All of this information you want to share here. 1 to 3 sentences. So you want to keep it concise. You want it to be like a juicy piece of fruit. When you bite into a juicy orange, and oof, it's just full of delicious juice. It's ripe. It's that right time. Your paragraph of 1 to 3 sentences needs to be filled with just the right amount of information, organized in just the most juicy way. It needs to be delicious, so to speak. All right. If you want examples of profiles, you can always do a quick Google search. You can look at what other people have written. There's tons of examples. There's examples with Indeed.com, Akhboot, this job website here, baitjobs.com. You'll see lots of examples. Next section, education. So you can see here, I already wrote your current school, American Academy Jordan. So let's say that you went to 2 schools. Let's say first, when you were younger, you attended Mara Yusuf. And now you're at AAJ. So you want to list the school that you're currently at first, or the most recent. So that's the way resumes work. When you look at your experience, you want to put what was most recent in your life. You want to put that first. So in this case, for all of you, my students, it's going to be American Academy Jordan. And then on the next line, you're going to say which grade you're in, what types of IGCSE exams you're taking. Just a short list. You don't want to write out sentences here. And then you might even include your GPA. So in the United States, we have this academic measurement called the GPA, which stands for grade point average. It's like your number. You know, when you get your report card, and sometimes I hear people ask, oh, what is your number? What is that number that summarizes all of your grades? Maybe it's a 90 out of 100, for example. You want to include that here on your resume if it's good. If it was bad, maybe something happened for some reason, you missed some homework assignments, you're struggling in your classes. If you have that low number, maybe it doesn't fit to put here on the resume. This resume, this CV, is really to shine the best light on who you are and what you have to offer. Of course, we all have areas that we can always work on, and so we do want to communicate that in the right time, face-to-face, as applies. Now, next you'll see school number 2. So if you have attended school in the past, a different school, you would say, yes, school number 2, okay, Mara Yusuf. And I attended there from this year to that year, or these grade levels, maybe from 2nd to 4th grade, I attended Mara Yusuf. And then you'd want to put your grades in there as well. You might put the type of examination program that would be applicable to Jordan and the Middle East. Okay. And then moving on from education, we have experience. So this is exciting. You might think in your mind, I haven't had a job. I don't have a job right now. My job is school. Well, that's great. So you do have opportunities maybe during the summer, or maybe you have volunteered with different organizations like Caritas. Maybe during Ramadan you work with a group to serve dates and give water out, or to give iftar for orphans. This is a time for your age. You're not going to have lots of jobs, but you can say what types of volunteer experience you've done. You can say what the group was called or what the job was. Maybe even you do peer tutoring. You regularly meet with peers, with your colleagues, or maybe you meet with your neighbors' kids and you teach them you walk them through some of their homework, you teach them some academic skills. So you could put there tutoring, for example, doing after-school classes. Under the time, you want to say how many months, which years you did this. If it's just for summer, maybe it's just the month of July, for example. I volunteered with the AAJ summer camp. That could be something that you put on here. If you're working, if you're actually helping. And then you'll see that there are 3 bullet points. So those 3 bullet points are for you to say what types of skills you learned, what types of responsibilities you had in that volunteer experience, that job, working for that group. And you want to say what you learned, how you grew. So that is your opportunity to share a little bit more. What are the practical skills I gained or I developed? How did I grow through that experience? Great. Moving along, we have skills. So this is an exciting part. You can say that you are great at your computer skills. For example, Microsoft Office, which would include Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel. Some of you that I know you've told me you've taken Flash courses during the summer, extra writing courses, or practice. So all of those things, maybe you took the master classes online. All of those things you can enter in here. I'm definitely expecting for you to write down Arabic and English. You want to share which languages you are good at. Now, there's always a challenge when you talk about language. People say, are you a native speaker? That one's easy. For me, English is native. It's my mother tongue. It's the first language I learned. But when it comes to Arabic, I'd be a beginner. Some of you intermediate in English. Some of you are proficient. Okay, some people, they write practical here in Jordan. They'll say, I have practical English, which means I'm able to have general conversation and handle my job well, but maybe when I talk about abstract things, it's a little bit harder for me. So that's okay. And then, of course, you would be expert if you have achieved the language fully. It's not just computer skills and language skills. You can also add other information, any kind of skill that you have applicable to work. So some people might say I'm very organized. I work with integrity, with honesty. You can also add here, I'm a problem solver. So all of those are skills. It just depends on how you prefer to design your own skill set. Next, you'll have accomplishments. These are usually diplomas, some sort of certificate. I accomplished summer camp leadership. I took this online master class. I went to this IGCSE training course. All of these things you can put here. You want to say when you achieved that certificate, when did you achieve that diploma, and then what other information you want to share about it. Maybe you share some of the skills specifically you learned, or what were some of the challenges that you overcame from that training that you were introduced to in that training. And then number 2, you should add another example. So we want 2 examples for accomplishments. Great, awesome. Now this last section is new for some of the university students that I've worked with. When they apply for a job, there's this section called references. And sometimes I've heard lots of university students tell me, oh no, in Jordan we don't need this. No, in Jordan we don't need this. But actually every single person that I've helped with their resume, CV, and helped them apply for jobs, within 6 months they've actually gotten a job. You probably know in the street, people here, they tell me, oh, there are no jobs, it's impossible to get a job. I know that the job market is challenging here. And it was too for me, actually, where I was from when I graduated from the United States back in Oregon. With the economy, it went down, it crashed for a period of time. So when I graduated from university, it was also hard to get a job. I probably applied to 100 to 200 different jobs looking for work. So that was way back in 2009. Today here in Zarqa, Jordan, I hear this sentiment many times, this communication. It's impossible to get a job, it's impossible to get a job. It's not. It might take some persistence, probably. It might take 6 months, it might take a year. It might take a long amount of time. It's even better to get a lesser job, even at a grocery store, for example. Maybe you work at a friend's marketplace to gain some experience while you're looking for other jobs. So that's Mr. Stevens' suggestion off the record. The reason why I share that with you is because references is a key part of why people get hired. So this is where you want to say who you know and how you are known. In life, we want to make sure that we are not just living in isolation, doing everything by myself. Now again, in Jordan, that's not common. Common culture here is we live life together, and it's beautiful and it's awesome. In the United States, there is this ideal of independence. Like, I'm living my life in this way, and I'm independent, I'm able to do all this by myself. It's so important that we don't isolate, live our lives alone. It's so important that we're in community. That's natural for you as my students, but it's important to document a glimpse of that, a small part of that, on your resume, on your CV. So this section, you want to have some people that know you. You need to list their names, their contact information, and how you're connected. So that way, if I am your employer, potentially, inshallah, I can call you. I can call this reference and say, hey, how is Muhammad? How does he work? What's his personality like? How is Malak? Does she study well? I want to have someone else in your life that I can kind of confirm who you are, what is your personality. So if you look at the name, of course you want to put the name, and then again, you want to say their contact information, email, their phone number, and then you also want to include as the last point, how you're connected to them. So internationally, the wisdom here, you want to have someone that is close to you from volunteering or from a job. So someone that you've worked with, a colleague. In this case, you would probably write a peer student. So a colleague that you work with, a friend from class, someone who really knows and can speak to the work that you do, who you are with integrity. Are you organized? All of these types of things. The second reference, you want it to be someone from your life. So someone maybe like a friend, someone that you've interacted with, doing a project together. Maybe it's someone that you volunteered with, but someone who can speak about you from a more close, outside of the professional world. Someone who can talk about your skill set, who you are as a person. And then lastly, I recommend someone who knows you in the context of your relationship with God. So, for example, some of you if you're Muslim, maybe you know someone from the mosque who has been a mentor in your life, someone that can speak to who you are. You're well known. They know your service when you go to the mosque, how you help others, how you engage in these ways. Likewise, those of you that are at the church, of course, if you're helping with different programs, maybe it's a mentor, someone who speaks into your life, who knows you, who's walking with you and teaching you how to be a young man and a young woman. Now, I'm just going to share with you, if we hit the pause button, I want you to, metaphorically, I want you to think about, do you have a mentor? At every point in your life, it's wise for you to have someone who has more knowledge than you, who has more life experience than you. Probably at this life, a parent. This may be someone from the church, from the mosque. Someone who is speaking into your life. And then you, as an individual at this age, you should be taking in that information and always have someone that you're sharing it with. Maybe it's other friends, people who are newer to understand something. You want to be a conduit. You want to be a river of information, receiving from those that have more wisdom than you, and then likewise, not just keeping it, but sharing that wisdom with others. Of course, always within the boundaries of God's design. So that's why we say, a professional reference from like a job, from a volunteer experience, a personal reference, someone who's close to you, who knows you outside of the professional realm. And then thirdly, someone like a spiritual mentor, someone who knows you in the context of helping the community, someone who has more wisdom than you, who mentors you, who pours into your life. Okay, step 7. You're here. Now go and do it. So I want you, now that you've worked through the worksheet posted on B12, you've brainstormed, going back to the beginning, you've brainstormed your profile, what types of things you want to include. You've seen the example of mine online. You've seen my CV, my resume, in a simple format. All of these things, it's now time to take that step. Log into your LinkedIn.com account, and I want you to upload a photo and input your information. If for some reason your family does not prefer your photo, that's okay too. You can keep your LinkedIn private and just send it to me directly by URL. But I do want to see your online URL profile. So it needs to be your resume, your CV online. My grading will be based off of spelling, punctuation, and the quality of contents. I just went through a pretty in-depth explanation of the information per each section. So I expect you to write something that's applicable, write something that applies, something applicable, something that applies for each section on your online profile. You may notice that the worksheet I gave you has more sections, has more content than what LinkedIn offers. That's okay. I want you to really soak in this information and experience this for English, for your IGCSE skills, for your success as you soon will be applying for universities. You soon will be applying for jobs, and this is a skill, a life skill, in English and of course in Arabic that will last you the rest of your life. It still applies to me. Of course, nowadays, in modern times, it's more digital. So that's why I'm having you create this on LinkedIn.com. LinkedIn.com is the largest international CV website for employers and to connect with other workers. I'm so happy to connect with you, and I am so excited. I want to see your profiles and see how professional you are. You can do this. I'm confident in you. And remember, this is in part a draft. At any time, you can go back in and edit this. So when I see your work, I may have a few notes for you to go back and edit, and we can just draft our way through this. We can work on more drafts to make it perfect. Resumes and CVs, you want them to be perfect. So let's do a 100% job. Let's do an overflowing job. That means 110%. We're finishers, and we have extra time to do this. Again, I want to refer to your past project, the inventions. I want you to continue working on those. Have those ready. When we come back together, we're going to celebrate by being together. Maybe we can brainstorm some snacks, something simple, but I want us to really enjoy coming back together when we see one another face to face, and we'll share our presentations from those inventions that you've created. I'll be able to hear your English and see what amazing and creative ideas you guys have. You guys are innovators. You guys are so smart. You guys are achievers, and I cannot wait to see you again. We will have some past papers and some IGCSE practice coming your way the following days, but this is just to get us started. I love you dearly. Can't wait to see you.